Wait until you see this. Here's a beach photo I snapped, but check this out. Look at that! Are you curious how I got that photo from pretty average to pretty decent? Well, stay with me because I'm about to show you 3 simple steps to improve your photos and make them look more professional. If you're new here, I'm Brett and I'm all about helping you elevate your photography game. This is a photo editing tutorial for beginners in Photoshop and Lightroom, and I'm going to show you how these tips are going to make a huge difference when it comes to your photographs. This photo was shot late at night on a beach in a town called Malakuta in Victoria, Australia, and it was a 3-minute long exposure. It was the last shot of the day, and it really should have been exposed for about a minute longer, but the weather was starting to turn and I'd already gotten a lot of photos that I was happy with, so I just snapped this and then left. So yes, I made a mistake. But I'm going to show you exactly how to fix this, and we're going to bring this one up so it looks great. And stick around to the end of the video because I've got a gift for you as well. Now we're going to do this edit in 3 stages. Stage 1 is called a basic edit. So let's jump into Lightroom and do that now. Okay, now we're in Lightroom. I've got 2 versions of the same image. I'll explain why a bit later on, but we're going to click on number 1 here. First thing we need to do, because it's quite dark, is bring exposure up a little bit, and we'll bring the shadows up as well. And we're doing this, but basically this is just by eye at the moment. Exposure a bit more, bring the contrast up a bit, and we're going to bring the highlights up just to give it a bit of light. As you can see, that's almost a savable image there. You could actually stop right here, give it a bit of a sharpen, and you'd be done if you wanted to. So let's scroll down to the transform section here, and we're going to click on auto level. So we're going to do auto just to level that up, so that our horizon is nice and straight. As you can see, it's pretty good. Now that you've done stage 1, we're going to jump into stage 2, which is in Photoshop, so let's go. First thing I'm going to do is remove this little rock here. I don't like it. And you can use the remove tool, but it's actually slower than using the patch tool for this sort of thing. So I'm just going to give the patch tool, draw around it, and then just move it to left, and now that's gone. Now if you look in here, you'll see that these little dots, and what that is it was quite a rainy day. There's a bit of dust floating around, and also the sensor could be dirty. When you do long exposure photography, these little dots that you normally wouldn't see are accentuated and much worse. I'm just going to do a few of these until I'm happy. As I said, you can use the object remove tool, which is using AI, but it takes much longer than this does. This is much quicker. You just drag it to a blank space on your image. The bonus I've got with this one is some of these look like rocks anyway, so in the sand especially, so we can get away with it. There's quite a bit here. That's the bulk of them anyway. Okay, now what we're going to do is going to go to sky replacement. So we're going to go edit, sky replacement. This is the sky I want to use. Now I'm going to change this sky because it doesn't look realistic. You've got nice silky smooth water because it's a long exposure, and then you've got this fixed sky. So I'm going to go up to filter up here and go to blur and change this to motion blur. Then I'm going to drag this along until it sort of matches what I want to do, kind of like that. Then I'm going to select the sky, do Control T, and I'm just going to scale it up a little bit so I can move it up a little bit, scale it up a bit more. And we're going to change the opacity to this a little bit too. We're going to bring that down to make it less intense. And before we merge any of these images, we're going to grab the background layer down the bottom and drag it to the plus sign so you have a copy. Then we're going to select copy, hold shift and hit sky replacement, and then just do merge layers. And you'll see you've got unedited version here and an edited version here. That's just in case you make a mistake and you want to go back. Now we're going to grab the sky replacement group. We can drag it down to the plus sign again. Now we've duplicated it. See, there's 2 of them now. And we're going to do Control T on that top one. And on the top here, we're going to hold shift and drag that down. Basically what we're doing is we're inverting this image, as you can see. You want it roughly the same size. Double click and you're ready to go. So now you've got a normal image and an upside down one. Now we're going to hold Alt and we're going to click the mask tool down the bottom here. Then go over to our brush tool over here. Select a nice soft round brush. The opacity is 100% at the moment. The flow's at 100% at the moment. And smoothing's at 0. And we're just going to brush in. If you go over the rocks and you want to erase some of that, all you have to do is click on this little arrow over here and make that black, and you can use and make it smaller, and you can just undo it. Like that one, for instance, it's way over. Now I know it looks rough, bear with me. Now we're going to get the opacity and we're going to bring that right down. I only want it just to be subtle, so it's like that. So you're not going over your rocks, it's bringing in that colour a little bit. Now once you've done that, you can have a look and say, maybe around here it's a bit much, so you can erase it out a little bit. It's a bit much over here. And if you look at it, you've got that blurry sky reflecting on the water a little bit. And the trick is I don't want the rocks to show any of this sky on them, so we're basically brushing them out. So as you turn it on and off, the rocks shouldn't change. If the rocks change, it means you've got some on it, like here. There we go. And I'll merge those together. again, and do Control S and do Control W. And now for stage 3, we're going to jump back into Lightroom and we're going to do some final adjustments. You see you've got the original image there and the new one here. Now we're going to do some color correction. So we're going to do this contrast. We're going to bring the contrast in just to make everything pop a little bit more. Bring the exposure up a little bit more again. We're going to bring the clarity up a little bit. And now we're in stage 3 of this. We're going to work out what parts of these rocks we want to play with. So if you zoom in on them, you can see you've got light parts of the rock and you've got dark parts of the rock. See the dark parts and the light part? You could do a blanket adjustment with your contrast if you want to, but I quite like to get a brush out. The first brush is going to be for all the light areas. So I'm going to basically brush over the light areas, like so. I'm only getting the light areas. You can see all the light coloured spots. The rest of it is dark. You don't have to be super neat actually. You can fix it up a little bit later if you need to. Hold the space bar down and drag across. Pick more light areas here. The only reason this is red is just showing you where the mask is. It's not actually drawing on anything at the moment. I'm basically just labeling the areas I'm going to adjust. So it's not adjusting anything yet. And to make that bigger, you just do the bracket bar up and down to adjust it. All right, now we're going to go to the exposure here and we're going to hold it and we're going to bring up the exposure on those rocks in those areas. If you zoom in again, you can see what it's doing here. You can see it's bringing up those areas. You can go crazy if you want to, but we don't want to do that. So we're just going to bring them up a little bit. And now that they're up, we want to give them a bit of color. Just going to move the temp across a little bit into the yellow, and then we're going to scroll down to a saturation tool. I'm going to bring the saturation up a little bit. And what we can do is I can take that mask still, select it, and then we can brush in the areas of this rock. And this one will do all the adjustments as we go. So if you brush it in, you'll see that it's brushing in all the color and all the light as we go, because the brush has already been set. So no matter where you put it now, you're going to get those highlights. But we haven't finished yet, because we're going to do another brush now. Press the plus button up top here. We're going to do a separate brush, and this one is going to be for darkening it down. Now we're on the same rock again, so we're going to brush just this area here, and I'm going to adjust it. Bring the exposure down a little bit, maybe bring the contrast up a little bit, like that. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I've just done that little spot. I'm going to pick the dark areas and do it more. It's mainly just a real sort of blackish spots on the rock. You can see on this rock there's plenty of them. And this brings a lot more depth to your subjects that you're brushing over as well. And now we have an image that looks really nice. Go back up here to the adjustment wheel. We've upped our contrast. We're going to bring our highlights down a little bit this time, because we're going to make that sky. It's highlighted too much in the middle here where the sun is. So we're going to bring that down a little bit just to bring the color in and the shadows up a little bit, which will bring up the whole image again. This is adjusting the whole image now. Now we're going to get our whites and bring them up a little bit. We're going to get our blacks and bring them down a little bit. Clarity up a little bit, and so on. It's all minor adjustments at this point. All right, now we're going to do one more brush. So we're going to go up here again. We're going to click the circle, the mask, and we'll do a brush again. And this brush is going to be just where we highlighted before in the water from the highlights from the sky. So all we're going to do is we're just going to draw over that section there like that. And then we're going to bring that exposure up a little bit. We're going to bring the contrast up a fair bit. We're going to bring the temperature up to make it a bit more yellow, because at the moment it was a bit blue. That's done. Now of course I've drawn over those rocks. We don't want that. You just hold the Alt key and you erase where you went over with the rocks a minute ago. Okay. Now we've done that, go back to our main adjustments, click on the custom white balance. I should have done this earlier, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to make the image look. At the moment down here it's a bit blue. Now you can just adjust that area, but I'm going to bring the whole thing up so it's not so blue. It's more the colour of the sand that it actually was on the day. This isn't perfect. You can see there's a bit of blue around the edge of the rock here and here, which I can fix right now. It's going to grab a brush and I'm just going to do that. I'm going to bring the temp up a bit on it. Exposure up a little bit, and where it's a bit much, hit the Alt key again and just bring it down like so. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did. Okay, now we're going to go back to our main adjustment, which is these 3 bars at the top here. We're going to scroll down and we're going to do our noise reduction and sharpening. So you got your sharpening there, but what's it's doing is sharpening the whole image, right? Sharpening everything. Every time you move that sharpening thing, it sharpens everywhere. If I go all the way up, you can see it sharpens the rocks, it sharpens the water, the sky, everything. But we don't want to sharpen the sky, so bring it back down to 0, and we're going to hold the Alt key down and we're going to do masking. Now as you drag the mask up, it's going to mask everything else out that doesn't need to be sharpened. At the moment it's sharpening the sky and the water, but we only want to sharpen the rocks. So bring it in until pretty much everything else is black. And you'll see that the rocks are sharpened and everything else isn't when you take the Alt key away. Now for noise reduction. Now if I had a lot of noise I would have adjusted it off the raw image earlier on, but it's not too bad on noise. Looks like I've got a couple of dead pixels. There's little green dots there, they're sort of really obvious now. But let's fix up this. So we've got manual noise reduction here. We're going to use the luminance bar here and we're going to bring it up just to smooth out that area a little bit. And we want the detail to still be in there. Now I could go all the way up to 30 odd and fix that problem, but when you scroll down and look at your rock, you'll see that you're losing detail on the rock. So it's a balancing act at the moment. We want to bring the detail up. We want to bring the luminance up too. So now we've got smoother water and sky. With a lot of artifacts here I've got to remove, but the rock looks really good. Now we've done that, we're going to scroll down to post-crop vignetting, the effects tool here, and we're going to give it a vignette. If you go up to the right, it's a white vignette. If you go down to the left, it's a dark vignette. So you can go all the way down if you want to, or all the way up. It's up to you. This one I'm just going to darken it down a little bit. And apart from fixing those little dots, I've got a couple of censored dirt here as well. We can easily fix that by clicking on the tool up here, the remove tool. And we're going to select the band-aid tool. And we're just going to click on it. And it should fix those problems we have. And now we have our original image, which is this one. And now it's this. It's a huge difference. Now I'm going to show you what I usually do with these images to start off. I do that basic edit we did at the start. I actually have a preset set up for that. So if you click on the image here, if you scroll up to my favorites up here, you'll see I have a base edit. So if I click on this image here for base edit, that does a lot of the work instantly. Obviously you've got to adjust it, so we bring up the shadows. And if you look at that compared to the one before, it isn't much different already. And we've had some contrast added. It's done a few things that I like to do. It's also leveled it up a little bit. That base edit pretty much does what we did manually earlier on. And the reason I'm showing you this preset is because I'm going to give it to you guys for free. And I'm going to give you another preset as well. When I have an image like this, I always try to make one colorful image, and I tend to make a black and white one. And I have a preset here, it's called hard black and white. As you can see, it's a really full-on black and white image. And when you scroll down to here and put a vignette on it, it does some very interesting things. But we're going to bring up the exposure on that just to give it a bit more pizzazz, and you have a finished image. But I'm going to give you the base edit and the hard black and white preset on Lightroom. And all you have to do to get it is sign up to the weekly newsletter, which will be linked in the description. And every week I send out tips and tricks and gear reviews and things like that. Things I find interesting in photography. I put into the newsletter and send it out to the subscribers of the newsletter. And as I said, it's always 100% free. But if you shoot in RAW, you're in focus and your image highlights aren't blown out, you can pretty much save anything. If you've always wanted to create photos like this using long exposure photography, then you'll love this video right here, where I explain how to do it with minimal gear and knowledge. Give that a click and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.